Today we are going to discuss an other important topic, that is the leadership traits. Uh, we will be looking at the important traits that are important for the leadership, and we will be looking on three important traits which are very essential for someone to come out of its dependence mode and enter into the independent behavior. And once you become independent, once you become self-conscientious, you become self-motivated, self-driven, only then you become eligible or you become able to enter into any working relationship and enter into any organizational setup and become the important and play an important role in the progress and the development of that organization. So the first important trait is being proactive. We are not going to look at the exact word meaning of the word proactive. We don't mean here by proactive that being active or being active in advance. Rather, we are more interested in the philosophical and the underlying meaning, underlying concept of this word proactive. So what is being proactive? Before going into the proactive concept, we need to understand that what is the model? What model can define our behavior? When we behave or we act in certain way, how this happens? What happens that there's always a stimulus. That stimulus can be from an environment, that stimulus can be any situation, that stimulus can be any question of the life, that stimulus can be any disease, any comforting thing, any comment or anything, any whatever comes from our outside body or from within our body without our intentions, that is a stimulus. And to every stimulus, we respond. Sometimes we respond by silence. Even we become silence, we are responding to that thing. Sometimes we respond by words. Sometimes we respond by some physical actions or by some writing materials. So always there is a stimulus, any question of the life, and then we respond. What can be the examples of the stimulus? For example, you get a job. This is a stimulus. How will respond to that? And if you get a job, you enter into some organization. For example, if on the first day your manager and your colleagues welcome you and give you a orientation training, or maybe you go into you are working for some period of time in the organization and there is some mishappening or any crisis situation in your organization, that is also a stimulus. So there are variety of stimulus, variety of actions that are happening around us, and we are bound to respond to them. So how this model is explained? When there is a stimulus, we respond. What are the factors on which our response is based? There are basically three theories behind this. One is the genetic determinism, other is the psychic determinism, and third one is the environmental determinism. What the genetic determinism theory says? Genetic determinism theory says that a human being who responds to a particular situation, his response is genetic based. The majority of the factors, the majority of the influencing factors in one's personality are the genetic factors. It is his genes that are playing the important role in how one behaves, how one acts, and how one's attitude is, how one's personality is. This is the genetic determinism theory. It says that whatever we are because of our generational genes, genetics that are being transferred from generation to other generation. There is another group of people or the school of thought that believes in the psychic determinism, and they are very popular and they hold this concept. They are adhered to this concept that whatever we do or whatever the way we do or we behave is because of the psychological development, psychological training, psychological nurturing, the way by which we have been trained, we have been nurtured, we have been socialized since our childhood. And they strongly believe that the psychology, basic psyche of a person develops within the first 3 years of his age. Means when we are kid, we only acquire the age of 3 years. Within those 3 years, we get our complete psyche. So those people who believe in psychological determinism, they say that whatever we behave, our actions or our reactions to the situation, our response to the situation is totally based on how we have been psychologically trained or we have been nurtured. There is third theory, and that theory is about the environmental determinism. The believers of this theory say, they say that whatever the way a person is behaving or responding is because of the environment, current situation. If he's well worse, if he's very healthy person, if he's well off person, he will respond positively. But if his conditions are not good, he's suffering from any disease, he's suffering from any mental torture, or are there any some kind of problem he's going through, then his behavior will be accordingly. So these are the environmental factors. And it also says that, it also believes that if you provide a good environment to person, he will act in a good way, in a positive way. And if you provide him bad environment, he will act in the negative way. So these are the three theories which explain the behavior of some person. So our model now becomes that if there is any situation in the life, there are three theories on which our stimulus is based: genetic, psychic, environmental, and response. Now here comes a thing. Here comes an example of the history to us. There was a person, Viktor Frankl, and he was the prisoner of Auschwitz camp, a Nazi concentration camp. He was a psychologist basically, and he wrote a book, Man's Search for Meaning. He wrote a book. He was captured by the Nazi soldiers, and in that capture, during his capture, his entire family was burnt alive in the chimneys of the Auschwitz camp. He was tortured to death. He was extremely tortured, and all the means of humiliating him, giving him bad the problems, and injuring him, all those things were done. But what he did a psychological experiment with himself. He just said that, what is my extreme level of freedom? Am I totally dependent on the environment? Am I totally dependent to the whatever they are doing to me, or my freedom is in my hands? I can still smile. I can still remain happy. And then what he did, he manifested the practical example of this by remaining happy, by memorizing all those events and using his imaginative sense. And he used to think a lot about his past events. He used to think, plan for the future events, and he tried to survive in that Nazi concentration camp. And he proved that it's not genetic determinism, it's not psychic determinism, it's not environmental determinism that decides that how you'll respond. Rather, it's the independent will, it's conscientiousness, it's your imaginative power. You are free to choose from the options with which you want to live in the life. So we can get some inspiration from him. And there are many other personalities in the history from which we can get inspiration, and we can understand, and we can reach to the conclusion that there are some other factors. There are still some other deep rooted principles on which our responses can be dependent. The one of those principles is the self awareness. This is very important endowment with which human beings have been blessed. We are always self-aware. We are self-aware about our thinking process. We are self-aware about right and wrong. We are self-aware that how our mind process. We are self-aware that how our all thinking process and intellect process works. We are having an other blessing, that is a sense of imagination. We have the power of imagination, and in using the sense of imagination, we can do a lot of things. We can do a lot of creativity. We can compare different ideas. We can see the impact of different things on some other things. We can see, we can imagine the cause and effect, the relationship between the cause and effect. We can imagine in advance that if I do this will happen, if I do like this will happen, if I do like this will happen. Means we can connect a lot of different conceptual pictures in our sense of imagination. And the third thing is, we are not bound to act in a certain way based on our environmental condition or our genetic determinism or our psychic development. We are mature, we are having independent will. We can act in any way, in any manner, in any mode which we want. Fourthly, we are conscience basically. We are good soul, we are conscient, we are having conscientiousness. We can differentiate between good and bad. So these are the four important factors. Certainly, there are many other factors, but for right now, we have determined these four important factors, which can be called the reason for our superiority from that of the animals. These four factors make us different from the animals. If we just believe that we are the result of our emotions, if we believe that we are the result of the environment, we are the result of our moods, then we are similar to the animals. But when we use these four factors, then we come to know that we are superior to the animals. And these four principles also help us in breaking the habits, which is a very essential factor, which is very essential step in developing your personality, in developing your character, in developing the leadership quality in you. So we are not our feelings, we are not our moods, we are not our thoughts. We are self-aware, we are having sense of imagination, we are independent, we are having independent will, and we are conscience pers people. So it's very important that we subordinate our emotions to our intellect. It's very, very important. And what happens? The reactive people who are not proactive, they are always run by the feelings. They are always driven by the feelings. They are always driven by the circumstances. They are always driven by the conditions and environment. That's why the reactive people keep on complaining about the environment. They keep on complaining about the feelings, about their health, about their well-being, about the conditions. And proactive people do not act in that way. Proactive people are always driven by the values and the principles, which are very carefully thought and very selected and internalized and adopted and inculcated values. So now the model which we were studying previously can be changed into this new model, that to the stimulus, when we go to the response, we have these four important powers in between our stimulus and in between our response. That is self-awareness, imagination, conscience, and independent will. So using this, we also need to have some P and PC balance here. By the P and PC balance, we mean production and production capacity balance. What is production? Production is giving. For example, I'm lecturing you. This is my production. And for giving this lecture, I need to prepare myself. I need to study from some book. That is a production capacity building. What happens in the life? We keep on giving, we keep on doing the things, and we forget about sharpening the saw. We forget about developing our skills. We forget and we give less time to developing ourselves. So it's very important. Proactive people, what they do, they always maintain a good balance between their production and their production capacity. What they produce, they keep on preparing for the for the next production. The next important thing, proactive people always act. They are not acted upon. They don't do the things thoughtlessly and they wait for the reaction of the people. Rather, they act and their actions are always principle based. The proactive people are very intelligent in knowing the reflections of the people and differentiating them from the projection, because around us in this world there are many different people who sometimes are just projecting their self point, their self perceived ideas, and those are their projections. And the proactive people do not just fall victim to the trap of their projections. They always see that what where are the right reflections. And proactive people always welcome the paradigm shift. They see the things from different angle. They see the things from different eye. They see the things from different perceptions. So these are the important habits that proactive people have. This is a example that how you can differentiate between the proactive people and the non-proactive people. There's a difference between their language. The people who are not proactive, they will be saying that there is nothing I can do about it. They will be having this negative sentence. They will be either saying someone else's behavior is limiting my effectiveness, or they will say there's nothing I can do. They won't allow. So these are the, in the red, I've written the sentences with the non-proactive people use. And what the sentences that depict the behavior of the proactive people, it's like, I can create an effective presentation, I will choose an appropriate response, I prefer, I will. So there's always positivity that you will see will shine from the language of the proactive people. These are two circles. One is the circle of influence and other is the circle of concern. If you make a list, if you make a list of the consents, if you make a list of the concerns, the things which about which we are worried, we can put all those things in the circle of concern. For example, our health issues, they come in the circle of concern. We are having the limited salary or the money, that comes in the circle of concern. Our friends are angry with us, we are not managing our relation with them, that also comes in the circle of concern. All the problems that are associated with our life can come in the circle of concern. What is the circle of influence? Circle of the influence is the area. Here we can enlist the things which, if we do, can improvise our life. For example, if we do the exercise, our health will be improved. For example, if we work hard, we do some more jobs, we do some extra work, we will be able to increase our salary or the monthly income. And thirdly, if we give good quality time to our friends, we invite them and we wish them their birthdays, or we take interest in their lives, we try to solve their problems. What will happen? Our friendship, our lost relationships, our damaged relationships will revive. So this all comes in the circle of influence. Proactive people have larger circle of influence and smaller circle of concern. On the other hand, those people who are not proactive, their circle of influence is very small and circle of concern is very large. And these both circles are reciprocal. They are inversely proportional with one and each other. The people who enhance their circle of influence, their circle of concern will automatically shrink. And those people who will enhance their circle of concern, their circle of influence will automatically diminish. So these are inversely proportional with one and each other. And proactive people have larger circle of influence. They have all things in their control. They have smaller circle of concern. So this was the end of the habit one of the leadership traits. I hope you would have understood this very well, and inshallah we will discuss the next habit in the next lecture. Thank you.